The latest challenge by the Trump administration to dismantle the Affordable Care Act reignited the debate on the legislation's legality and popularity. Most of the law has been upheld by the Supreme Court, but faced mixed results in the appellate courts. Many Republicans have made their opposition to the Affordable Care Act a central platform, but one Republican wants to make sure the act remains in place. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost has filed a brief asking the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals not to strike down the ACA, aside from the individual mandate. In a recent interview with Axios, he explained his position, saying, if a patient has a tumor, you don't kill the patient, you cut out the tumor. To expand on this, Attorney General Yost joins me now. I want to thank you for being here on Rising.
Thank you for having me.
And just to be clear, you wrote an amicus brief along with the Attorney General from Montana,
yes.
Right? So there are two of you rogue Republicans out there that are looking to hold on to the ACA.
We prefer to think that we're actually where the party is, or at least ought to be, the rule of law against judicial activism.
Yeah, so why did you write the amicus brief? Tell us about it.
Well, the trial court got this wrong. There's a well-established rule, set of rules about severability. What happens when you find one piece of the law unconstitutional? What do you do with the rest of it? And they just overreached and said, well, we don't like the Affordable Care Act, so we're going to throw it all out. We think they got that wrong. And, okay, so the judge gets it wrong, right? That happens. Why does Ohio get involved? Ohio gets involved because we've got 1.9 million non-elderly people in Ohio who have pre-existing conditions. They're going to be out in the cold if this thing goes poof overnight because of judicial activism. I don't like judicial activism in its liberal flavor or in its conservative flavor.
Yeah, you know, you've been doing some really interesting things as Attorney General, even so far. You've only been in office since January. You know, I know you're focused on sex trafficking, human trafficking. We've seen some work on that. You've also done some work around drug trafficking, particularly around some of these centers, addiction centers.
Yes.
So you have a reputation of being willing to take on Republicans when you were state auditor. Is this another example of you being willing to take on the National Republican Party to fight for the state, or how do you see it?
Well, look, my oath of office was to protect the people of Ohio, not the Republicans, the people of Ohio. So while the Republican Party is the area that I feel most commonality with on a lot of policy issues, my job is to work for everybody in the state.
Okay, so where's the governor on this? Because when Mike DeWine was Attorney General in 2011, he was on the other side of this question, joining a lawsuit. So where is he now?
So, and just to go back, the 2010, 2011, I probably would have supported his lawsuit.
Okay.
At that time, I was the state auditor, so it didn't matter what I thought. But that's a different law than what we have today. It's been amended 55 times, and today's lawsuit is after the Supreme Court has weighed in twice, said what the constitutionality is, and then we had more amendments in 2017. So. Today, and I talked with Governor DeWine before we filed this lawsuit, you know, his position is we need to protect people with pre-existing conditions. So he didn't ask me to file this lawsuit, but we're on the same page in terms of the policy outcome that we think ought to happen. So
for the record, you're elected on your own. You can start a lawsuit without the governor's permission.
Yes.
Okay. In 2018, when you were running for this office, in a debate in October, you volunteered your opposition to the Texas lawsuit without being asked. Was there something in the political water in Ohio that made you decide to really get out front to take this position?
Well, what I said in October was that I didn't agree with the Democrats or the Republicans on this and wasn't going to get involved with the lawsuit, but that I didn't agree with the Republicans that had brought it, who I have great respect for. What has changed since then is that the Texas court has made its decision and overreached. And the reason I'm in this suit is Congress makes the laws, writes the laws, not the judiciary. You're from Detroit, I'm from Ohio, we build a lot of cars.
Yeah.
Ford doesn't, the accountants are really important, but Ford doesn't use the accountants to build the cars or design the cars. And we need to stay in our lanes here. I don't believe that the Texas court did.
All right, so you're here in Washington this week. President Trump, right now, he's already joined the side. He's already joined the side of the folks who want to dismantle the ACA. And he's telling us that he's got a secret health care plan. Have you seen the secret health care plan the president's working on?
Well, I haven't, but I have talked to the White House, and they share basically my goals, which is a good law that's workable, market-based, provides affordable and accessible health care to all Americans. Can we do better than the ACA? I think absolutely we can. What that looks like is yet to be seen, but here's the thing. That comes from Congress, not from the judiciary.
So you've got 1.9 million Ohioans, as you said, who are at risk from pre-existing conditions being cut off. There are about 50 million Americans, by some estimate, who could also be at risk from pre-existing conditions being cut off. Why is it that the president is joining a lawsuit that would throw out an ACA without coming up with something else that would take care of people with pre-existing conditions?
Well, look, I don't know what the White House's timetables or reasoning might be. We just have a disagreement about the application of the law in this particular place. I suppose it's not surprising that lawyers might have different ideas.
So if we get to 2020, Ohio is always one of the big battleground states. Yeah. Everybody's going to make it to Ohio once they're nominated to this process to be president. Do you think the president will face headwinds if he is actually able to get rid of pre-existing conditions? Can you win Ohio by getting rid of pre-existing conditions in healthcare as a way of people to be taken care of?
Well, look, I honestly don't think that the higher courts are going to side with the trial court. I don't think that anything other than the individual mandate will be stricken from the law.
Okay, so when we get to 2020, you've got these candidates who are running. What happens when the president calls you and invites you to come out to a rally where he's taken on this issue? Are you gonna show up?
Well, if the president invites me somewhere and I'm otherwise available, I'm going to go. I was with a bipartisan group of attorneys general at the White House just last month to meet with William Barr, and the president came in and spoke for a little while as well. He is the president of the United States.
Yeah. So have you talked to the Attorney General or the White House counsel about this law, and maybe tried to talk to them about keeping pre-existing condition coverage as part of the health care law?
Well, I think that that's what their goal is from a policy standpoint. They're focused on a congressional solution.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here on Rising. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's good to meet you as well.
Okay. Take care. All right. Thank you, and we'll be right back with more Rising after this.